Hello, welcome back to the Live Reality Games podcast. My name is Steven, and I'm here today with more Surviving Reelfoot post-game coverage. And with me today, we start out this week great. We had the first of the Trinity with Josh, and now we bring the second member, Barbara. Barbara, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
So we chatted a little bit before we get into the podcast, and Barbara, I'd just like to ask, are you an adventurous person?
No, not at all. Probably hit me, as I rounded those 50s, I got a little more adventurous. Did I know what I was getting into with Surviving Reelfoot? Absolutely not.
At what point in the game were you just maybe sitting or standing, just kind of like, what am I doing here?
It was probably on Monday, and I just thought, I am old. That first day I realized right off the bat in the categories, I was the oldest. I was the oldest out there, period.
Mm-hmm.
So probably on Monday, it kind of hit me, maybe my mother was right. Maybe I shouldn't be out here. But there was no way I wasn't going to fight to stay.
Well, you were telling me a little bit ahead of time. I mean, you've jumped out of a plane, right? I mean, how much scarier can Survivor be compared to that?
Well, when you jump out of a plane, you're simply, falling for 30 seconds. Unfortunately, Survivor in the blue camp was like 3 days every one day that passed. So we were not at the Hilton. Okay. We were at the Motel 6. So
talk to me a little about your background in Survivor. Had you watched the show before? Had you heard of the show?
Had never heard of it. I've actually known Pete Morgan for many, many years. We both have the same job in our respective counties. We're property valuation administrators. And at summer conference last year, I overheard him talking to Ronnie Hetty. And I said, "Oh, what are you talking about?" And they explained what was going on, because that year the conference was the week before. So I watched Ronnie all the way through, up to the point of sending him messages. I private messaged his wife to tell her who I was, so she wouldn't keep saying, who is this woman that keeps texting or messaging? And I said, you know what, I'm going to try. Never thinking for a minute that I would actually get picked.
So what about when you were watching Ronnie play in season 9? What drew you to the game?
I think that Ronnie and I both have type 2 diabetes. We both are on the same medications and regimens. And seeing that he could do it, and I saw the problems he was having, I thought, we've got to keep getting out there. We may have diabetes, but it's not going to stop us from doing what everyone else is doing. And if the fact that I'm a diabetic and I'm a 50-plus-year-old woman who's never camped or anything inspires someone, more power to them.
So I was going to ask as well. So you don't have any camping experience either?
Oh, Stephen, I've never camped. I've never peed outside, much less pooped outside. I went in green, totally green.
So before you applied, did you talk to Pete Morgan or Ronnie Moore?
I talked to Ronnie. I tried to stay away from Pete. I didn't want any undue influence, and he understood that. Ronnie said, go for it. If you don't, you're always going to wonder if you could.
Did Ronnie also coach you on things like what to expect or things to do, or just like he's just like go out, be yourself, and have a time?
He said just go out there, be yourself, have a good time. He did give me some tips on medication, which I started working with my primary care physician as soon as I found out I was actually going to be on it. So we had a plan in place. So I'm trying to think the casting process. So did you find out like January, February that you were going to be on the game? I found out right after Thanksgiving.
Okay, so you had a good 7 months or so. What were you doing to prepare for this?
Well, I joined the gym, but I never went. So that didn't help. My boyfriend and I are avid roller skaters. So that's a lot of our exercise, and it's actually a great form of exercise, easier on the knees. So a little bit of that, but really rewatching old seasons of Surviving Reelfoot and even Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of watching and watching the gameplay. I knew I wasn't going to be a physical force out there. I knew social was going to have to be my game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I went in.
Wow. Okay. So you kind of became a fan in the process of preparing for Surviving Reelfoot.
Yes. I probably haven't watched a season of Survivor in 10 years.
Well, can you tell me, like, what seasons did you watch to prepare?
Well, I watched anything I could find on Surviving Reelfoot, and I tried to go back to some of the older seasons of Survivor, more of what I had seen when Rudy played, Boston Rob, things like that. Not a lot of the newer things. Some of the older ones, I thought maybe some of the challenges would be a little closer to that instead of, some of them that they're doing now.
So what was your strategy then entering the game?
Well, it was, like I said, it was to play a social game. I think I did that pretty well. To give everything I did, even if I wasn't good at it, to give 100%. We all know I know how to trip and fall. So, I tripped and fell quite a few times, but I got back up. I kept going. And one of the things that I'd even discussed in the interview process, sometimes you learn more by listening. And, I may have not, people may have looked and thought I really wasn't paying attention. Oh, I was listening. I was listening to everything going on around me.
So imagine you can time travel back to yourself in like November, December. What would you tell yourself? Hey, you should do the following to prepare. Like, was there anything you would tell yourself then?
Oh, I should have went to the gym, definitely. But probably brushed up. If I had realized how serious these players are with Survivor, and with any of these reality shows, I probably would have brushed up a little more on those instead of, housewives of whatever.
So coming in the game, were you excited, anxious, nervous? What were you feeling?
I was actually very nervous, especially when I found out it was going to be a schoolyard pick. I'm the oldest. I don't want to be the last one picked. And then you notice that we've got an odd number. So right off the bat, people were saying, oh, I wonder if somebody's getting voted off right off the bat. And then we started talking about how much that would really piss us off if we went home before the game even started. So when they handed out the rocks, we each took a rock and we had them behind our back. I thought to myself, okay, they showed us the rock, it's painted. So I took my nails and I started scratching on the rock and I realized something came off. So I knew 99% sure that I had the blue rock. So I wasn't going to be the last one. I was going to win something.
Oh my gosh, that is a fantastic strategy.
So, and then that first pick, I'd like to go back and change it.
Well, before we get in the game, I have a couple other pregame questions. What did you bring as your luxury item?
I brought a pillow, and in that pillow, I put 2 waterproof pillowcases on it, and they let it go. And then a regular pillowcase. So I knew I was going to have 2 waterproof bags. And when they said we could bring toilet paper, I asked how much, and they said as much as you want to carry.
So tell me, how much toilet paper did you carry into the game?
I think it equated to like a 64 pack of toilet paper. It was Charmin.
Oh,
and when I had been practicing, my first request was for a Ziploc bag of dryer lint because 1, it helps ward off bugs, but 2, it's highly flammable. And so when they turned that down, when I was practicing making fire, I had to find something else that was going to be highly flammable that I could take. And Charmin tissue paper, when you roll it up, it's highly flammable. So I was going to take a lot of that. And if anybody forgot their toilet paper, Mama Bear was going to have it for them.
So you also were practicing with the flint and steel as well, making fire?
Oh, yes. My neighbors were wondering if I was going to burn down the house.
How good did you get at it?
It was taking me 20, 30 minutes there at the end, just, getting the right combination, wondering, okay, am I going to have wet or dry, things like that. Now, the first day in, of course, we had Megan, the fire starter. So I just kind of built the fire, the stick figure for her, and then she lit it right off the bat.
So now jumping to the game, you've already mentioned that you kind of hack the opening moment of the game, right? You were able to say, I'm not going to be the last one. I'm going to be the first one, right? You get the rock, you go to the blue tribe, the Unoga tribe. I see you're wearing blue to represent Unoga. You then get the choice. Who is the first person you're going to put in the tribe with you? And talk me through this choice you make.
Well, about 30 minutes before I was supposed to arrive, I get a text message from Pete saying, instead of coming at 10, can you wait till 11? Is that going to be a problem? It's no problem for me. I'll sit in my car and do something. And there was this little gas station about 10 minutes away. And I pulled in, I went in and got something to drink. And there was this pirate in there. And he was very loud and he was laughing about something. He had on a pirate's hat. He just looked like, Pirates of the Caribbean, Johnny
Captain
Depp.
Jack Sparrow.
Yes. And I get to laughing. And as he's leaving, the lady that was checking me out, she says, he's going to be in some reality game. I said, me too. I need to follow him because I don't know how to get there. And I took off out. He was already gone. And when we got there, we were sequestered together. It was me and Bash and Angela in what turned out to be the jury room, which was hotter than you can imagine. And they had this little fan in there, and it was just hitting me and blowing my hair. And in walks Jack Sparrow, and I thought it must be a sign I'm supposed to pick him. So. And I also figured out he was also the oldest, and I was going to make sure he was not the last one picked.
So you pick Bash, and that kind of sets down the chain for your tribe.
Yes.
The next thing that happens is you realize you're told you need to vote for a player. What? Why? You don't know. You're told vote for a player in your tribe. You've just met these people, right? You probably don't even know all their names at this point. How did you decide who to vote for?
Pretty much just the first one I looked at. I can't even tell you who I voted for. That's how much thought went into it. So, you don't have a reason for picking someone at that point.
Well, so Bash ends up getting the nomination for your tribe, and he wins immunity at the first vote, but he also has to then give a medallion that will grant that player an extra vote against them, their tribal council, and he hands it to Sharif. I don't think there's much drama about that in your tribe, unlike the other tribe. And then your tribe then goes to your first reward challenge, the memory box challenge.
Yes.
How was that for you?
Well, you saw I got none. Josh and I were very consistent in that game, I think. It was like I would look, okay, there it is. But once somebody moves something, well, it didn't look the same anymore. I'm one of these, I would have liked them in nice, neat order, one underneath the other. And so I could count and everything. But it was fun to see other people, get to match things up. Some of the stuff we got, I'm like, chapstick. Okay. And a pair of sunglasses. 3 toothpicks. The bread was the bomb. That was the best thing we got, was the bread. Oh, and by the way, little Tommy Tabasco is here for tonight if anyone has questions for him.
Oh, trust me, I have many questions for little Tommy Tabasco. There's a whole saga that I think needs to be unearthed with Tommy Tabasco. So after this challenge, you go to your new home, the Unoga campsite. And at this point, it's dry. It's going to become so much more fun later on. But talk to me about this campsite and just the thoughts that are going through your head as you're arriving and kind of the game is really starting.
I think when you get down there, you start, as you're walking there, you're starting to talk. That's where Josh and I kind of figured out, okay, I have a son named Josh who wears glasses and has a beard. That connected us right there. There's not a sweeter person out there than Sharif. So everyone was good friends with him. We got down there and Bash started his tearing down trees and carrying them out. and we started just setting up camp. It was, okay, where's this fire going to go?
Mhm.
And at one point, Josh actually came over to me and he said, slow down a little. Don't work so hard. You'll put a target on your back. And I said, okay, so I slowed down a whole bunch. But once we got everything set up, we kind of just sat down and we said, gee, I wonder how bad their camp is. And, we imagined that we had the great camp. We took a little walk. They kind of explained we had some dead trees. We had some really heavy rattlesnake areas that they said, hey, don't go this way. Don't go over here.
Mhm.
Of course, instantly everyone's looking for an idol. I'm just like, well, I've made it this far, and let's.
I'm in the game.
I'm in the game, And then nightfall came, and it was a cold one.
So this is your first time ever ever sleeping outside.
Yeah.
How was it?
Everyone kind of laid down, and I realized I'm on the end. And I think to myself, I can't do this. The snake will get me first. So I asked Josh if he would switch with me. And I explained it to him. And that's how we became, bunk buddies, I guess. He cuddle buddy.
Mhm.
He kind of protected me on that side. But, it was so tight that first night. It was literally wake everybody up, quarter turn. Because you all had to move in unison or you were going to be on top of someone. So, and it was cold.
We've kind of talked about Josh's brief, but I will kind of hear your first impressions of some of the other players in your tribe. What were your thoughts on Megan?
Loved her. I thought, this girl's going to win it. Mm-hmm. She was from the get-go. I want a female to win it. If it's not me, I just want a female to win it. She is so just honest. With me, she was very honest. She explained her game to me, what she wanted to do. Always was ready with a nice word, a kind thought. But she was out there playing the game. Mm-hmm. And at one point I thought, she's going to win this. And if I want to go any further, we may have to get rid of her at one point.
Mm-hmm. What about Carly?
Carly was very quiet. She stayed a lot with Julia. Mm-hmm. And that kind of worries. They seem to be talking a lot. So I thought maybe they might have known each other. Again, very nice person. I wish she had stayed with the blue. I think she would have went a lot further.
Mm-hmm. What about Julia?
You just have. I'm gonna fall back on low blood sugar because bless her heart, I don't know if she was that just out of it, not knowing, or if she was that good of a player that she was just playing that. To watch her pick up these tiny twigs and throw them in the fire, that drove me nuts. And then the blowing on the fire, I finally just would lay my head down. And I have a really bad resting bitch face. You know what I'm thinking. So we really didn't talk a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think she was another one of those thinkers. She's always listening. Mm-hmm. I think she, I wish she could have went further. I would like to have seen the game she would have played.
What about, you mentioned you had that first impression of Pirate Bash from the gas station. What was it like when what was your impression when you finally actually got to speak with him?
I thought this is somebody I can work with. And it was like that up until the first, when he was sent to the yellow team, the yellow tribe. I thought this is somebody, Meg and I and him and Josh and Sharif, we could be a fine five. He's super smart. He played a phenomenal game. He really did.
You mentioned that Sharif was a person that you were initially drawn to, and he was really kind. What were some of the things you two connected with?
Well, we had birthdays one day apart. His birthday was the last Friday, and mine was the day of the finale. So we had talked about that, and he had mentioned he had just gotten married in Brazil. And I turned around, sometimes your brain doesn't catch up with your mouth. And I said, "Oh, I remember seeing you on 90 Day Fiance." And that just kind of became a joke between us and everything. I hope his wife has forgiven me for that. But yeah, we would, he talked about that. At the time, we didn't know that his dog had passed away the day before. But, it was just, he was a newlywed. We liked teasing him. And he was just so kind all the time.
And I think the last person in your tribe, talk to me a little about Drew. What was your first impression of him?
I know Drew doesn't believe this, but I really liked Drew. But I thought there was a twist in the game that there were twins, identical twins, because it didn't matter where you were, Drew was there. And you're like, I just saw him at the other end of camp. Drew was just everywhere all the time. And I can remember one day he goes, "What are you doing?" And I just turned around and I yelled, "I'm looking for an idol." And one day I said, "I'm talking about you." And but I really did like him. It got pretty dicey the day of the finale. We have talked just by texting since the show ended. We do want to have a talk one day, on the phone. But it got really bad at the finale, and neither one of us were willing to listen to the other at that point. And if it had not been for James and Keenan and Sharif, I don't know that I would have went to the finale. So, because it just got really ugly.
I think you go into this thinking like it's a game, it's gonna be fun, and then you don't anticipate how emotionally invested, I guess, you can really get into it, and just how much it really, because you were in the game a long time. You were like 6 of the 8 days, right?
I was there till Friday.
Yeah.
And so the next day.
Yeah. So you were there almost the entire game, and like it just like it can really weigh on you and have an impact on you.
When we went to tribal and he was voted out, and he did his little exit speech, I know I had just a confused look on my face. And when he yelled, "You can just keep looking confused all day long, you liar." And I'm just thinking, I knew that my kids and my grandchildren were watching this. And I'm thinking to myself, where did this come from? And was it a joke? He goes, "Well, I said it was a joke." And yeah, but I don't think anyone heard that part.
Well, Drew says that you two are good now, and he's honestly more hurt from you falling on him, not wrong.
I did fall on him. But if I knew what I knew now and we were all playing again, I would definitely want Drew on my side. And I probably would have listened to him a lot more, because he's good at the game. He knows a lot of people and a lot of things.
So going into day 2, this day is mostly reward challenges, right? And
Yes.
We talked a little about, like, you've never camped outside before. You're really looking forward to you think your strength is going to be the social part of the game.
Yes.
Were you concerned about the challenge aspect?
Of course, I think everyone is. I knew some of them would be a mental challenge, and some would be really physical. And I'm not a good runner. I don't have good knees. Luckily, there wasn't a whole lot of that. I knew I was a strong swimmer. I knew I was I could kayak. That wasn't an issue. I knew that was going to happen because I saw the water and everything. So I felt pretty good there. I knew working as a group, give me the task. I can do my task. Memory depends on how much glucose I've had at that point.
So your opening challenge is the SOS challenge, where you have to create a design that the most, you're trying to make the most noticeable design from the air, right?
Yes.
And I think this is where your stash of toilet paper comes in very much handy.
Yes. Yes. And don't think I didn't roll it all back up. And that toilet paper became now fire starting toilet paper. But yeah, it may have been Drew that said to outline everything. And when we were done, we realized we had made the rebel flag. So with Carly's big red bra. So.
And then from there, you have the slip and slide challenge.
Yes. If there was one person I did not want to go up against that just scared the daylights out of me from the yellow tribe, it was Lauren. I don't know why. She had not said the first word to me, but when she walked up, I said, oh. Then I got this bright idea. Okay, you've got to stop at the end of that slide before you get to the water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jump the slide. That way I don't have to slide as much. And if you notice in it, I hit my head and you see me pull back.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing someone yell, she's hit her head. Well, I wasn't going to stop. I jump in the kayak and I realize it's backwards, the seat. I'm not very tall. I'm not taking the time to change it. And they had said, now I said, I know how to kayak. I'm going to block her as much as possible because I knew she was going to be a lot faster than me up the hill and everything. And she beat me up the hill. I did beat her back with the kayak. And it was just luck that I made it before she did. I think between us, we probably threw those reins 150 times and we weren't 3 feet from it. It just, when it stuck, that was just the highlight of my day right there. I did not let my
beating Lauren. How was your head afterwards?
It was painful. The doc came to see me, ruled that I was okay. I had a headache, really, really bad headache for about 24 hours. And I kind of kept it quiet. Drew was the only one I think that really knew how bad my head was hurting. And when he went to the yellow tribe, I believe they told me someone from the yellow tribe was concerned. And the doctor came down to see me. And at first I was like, are they trying to get me kicked out? But I think it probably was Drew and it was just out of concern, but it did get a lot better. So, at that point I was so hungry, maybe that overrode it.
So at this point, Josh has told you that there are idle clues in the rewards, right?
Yes.
And you find after these 2 rewards, not 1, but 2 different idle clues.
And can't find that idol to save my soul. I got one in the chair and it said the dead tree. Now the dead tree had been taught to us the first night over and over by the handlers. And it had a caution tape around it that I got in trouble for taking off and using in a challenge. I did go take it back, but it said to take, I think it was 52 steps. And I knew Drew's clue about being on the path. So I knew that it was somewhere near our fire. And then the second clue I got on the boat talked about the ferns. And it talked about a circle. I said, okay, that's got to be the fire ring. And I looked really hard on the right-hand side, but it was on the left-hand side. And I kept thinking I know exactly where it was. They showed me a picture. I sat on this log at one time. And it was just one of those, they're not going to put anything inside of something where we could possibly get bit by a snake, but, none of us found it. So, and I shared the clues with Sharif. I shared it with Josh. I shared them with just about everybody. I wanted someone to find it.
Well, my favorite story,
I didn't give them all of the clue. I gave them parts of the clue.
Well, At a certain point, did you just start assuming that someone must have had the idol because everyone's been searching and searching, you have all of these clues?
I figured Bash or Megan had it.
Hmm.
I mean, Bash was through those trees like a monkey going through a jungle.
Hmm.
And I thought he's got to have it. And there the first day or two, Megan was constantly out gathering wood, getting wood, getting wood. Then she stopped
Hmm.
and she pretty much stayed by the fire. And I thought, well, maybe she has it. Um, Probably by Wednesday, we were sure someone had it. So, people were still looking, but not as hard. They were more into having their little meetings and everything.
Hmm. One thing I remember from your confessionals, even from early on, you always had a sign off to your family that you would do. Can you talk to me about that?
That was something. I have a 5-year-old grandson named Caleb, and he was not real happy that he wasn't going to be able to talk to me. So at his preschool graduation, right before I left, he was in the back in his little cap and gown, and his mom and dad weren't looking. So he looked at me and went, which he had been told not to do. So when it was over, I told him, every time you see Gigi do that, that'll be me saying, I love you.
Hmm.
And when I got back, he said, Gigi, did you see me doing this back to you? And I said, absolutely. So that was just an I love you. And I have a granddaughter named Sloan, and it was for those two, so they wouldn't forget me.
So I guess in Aslan, what was the rest of your family's thoughts when you told them I'm going to go in the Tennessee woods and play Survivor for a week?
Well, my mother said absolutely not. And I informed her I was 3x7+ wearing long breeches, and I was going. And my kids thought, that's great. My son Josh and my daughter Christine and my son-in-law Trey, they were all like, that's wonderful. My boyfriend Mark goes, you're scared of frogs. You'll never make it one day. And I thought to myself, I may have to get over that. And the first thing I saw when we started walking to camp the very first day was a frog. And I would have rather seen the rattlesnakes over and over than those frogs. So
Hey, you overcame a lot out there.
I did. I ate flowers. I ate grass. I ate, we would talk about the wood splinters and the rice. That was just extra crunch.
So jumping back to the game, your third reward challenge, this is the balance beam challenge. You have to go across the balance beams, memorize a pattern, come back and recreate the pattern. How is this challenge for you?
I enjoyed it. And I can't remember, I think it was Bash that said, make up a story out of your colors.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to do it. It was very confusing. We had Drew wanting it done one way, and then Drew goes away and he's yelling, and we're trying to think of our colors and everything. And it got a little confusing as to who was doing what or what line. But other than that, I thought Drew did a great job making sure we got everything back across, the pieces of wood and everything. So, but I enjoyed that challenge.
And your tribe wins. And
yes.
Unfortunately, it's the only idol clue you don't collect from that day. Drew ends up getting it.
Yes.
So
he shared it with me.
So you've won like the first 3 challenges. You've won them all. How are you feeling? Like, talk to me about your feeling about this group as a whole, this tribe. At that,
I thought we were really strong.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't particularly concerned about anybody on
Mm-hmm.
there. I didn't think I was on the radar. I thought we were bonding really well.
Mm-hmm.
And we obviously were working together really well.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I think that challenge kind of did Drew in. And maybe if he hadn't been the one in charge, his game would have went a lot further.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was probably, I was very nervous at that one. I thought, oh, please don't let me fall off this. Please don't, but it went okay.
And then you conclude the day with your first immunity challenge. And this is when you have to go through the obstacles to create the ladder puzzle, go back through the obstacles and solve a final puzzle.
Yeah, that was one of my falls. When I ran to get up on the table, I fell about 10 feet before it and did a roll and came back up like a superhero. But the question was, do you let me go first? Am I going to be tall enough to get up on that table?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can do it. I can do it. I said, let me do it. And now going across and taking off the ladder pieces, the way they were tied on, even touching them, they were falling. And they were just yelling, just grab one and go, grab one and go. So that was a good challenge, but didn't exactly go in our favor at the end.
Your tribe has a huge lead, but we're talking to Josh, and him accidentally kneeling on one of the puzzle pieces might have done you all in at the very end.
You know, I don't know about that. I think the fact that the yellow tribe put it together in like, I don't know, 17 seconds, could we have beat that? I don't know.
So after this challenge, you mentioned at the start of the game, you're a little bit nervous, saying you're likely the oldest contestant in the game, and that might put a target on you, right?
Yes.
How safe are you feeling like knowing you're going to go to your first tribal council?
I thought I didn't think I was going to have a problem getting through the first one, simply because there was so much talk about Drew at that point. And I was just going to sit back and listen. There was a lot of people going for walks, but I wasn't. Nobody was asking me to go for a walk. And I said, well, that's one of two things. Either they really just don't care because I'm not on the radar, or they're getting ready to tell me I'm the first one. But I really, there a little bit before we left to go to tribal, I think it may have been Bash that called me over to let me know that everyone was voting for Drew. Was I okay with that? And I said, sure. So anybody but me.
So if you had to rank who were you having the most strategic discussions with at that point?
Probably, I wasn't having a lot of strategic discussions. I was more listening. Josh was giving me a lot of good tips. Megan was giving me a lot of good tips. She was filling me in for the most part. I think Bash was a little too for me at some point. I just didn't know. He would say one thing one time, one thing the next. So I never quite knew. I know at one point probably just said, tell me who we're voting for, and I'll go with it.
So day 3 in the morning, you have your first tribal council, and Drew is blindsided pretty effectively, but we kind of talked about this already. He has some parting words for you, and he leaves you the medallion as a parting gift.
Yeah.
But at this point, you survived your first tribal council.
Yes.
You've now slept 2 nights outdoors. You're in day 3 of the game. I mean, okay, Drew wasn't blindsided. That's fair.
You were so.
You've survived your first tribal council. You've survived 2 nights outside. You're on day 3 of the game. How are you feeling, both like mentally and physically?
That's when it was hitting me. What am I doing out here? There had just been nights were really hard. That first night, I don't think any of us slept. So Sunday, we were like walking zombies. We were able to eat some rice. But by that second night out, it was cold and we knew rain was coming. So we were trying to make sure with winning that reward, that extra tarp and those mats and the pillows and everything, especially the blanket, we want to make sure we're keeping these things dry and that we can use them. And that's, kind of when the waterproof pillowcases really came in handy. And Bash and his 50-gallon Ziploc bag he brought. So.
I love that from Matt, where he just like kept pressing the envelope. How big of a bag can I take? How big can I take? This big?
Yes, he had a great plan in that.
Because you spoke how you said type 2 diabetic.
Yes.
And regarding that, like how much of a pressing concern was that for you? Was that just like, oh, you're monitoring and you're feeling okay, you're good, or?
I had planned on keeping it a secret. Um, in the first night that the doc came down, he handed it to me in front of everyone. It's obvious what a testing kit looks like. And he just came out and said, "What is your blood sugar?" And I was like, crap, because I was more worried about the glucose. Would someone consider that an advantage on my part? That I was able to take glucose. They really were good in the game. If I needed something there in the beginning, I think there was one day we needed to get the blood sugar up. So I was given 2 ounces of juice before a challenge. There at the end, it became a little dicey. I was running out of glucose and I was supposed to be getting some and it never came. So, just trying to watch it. I just finally told everyone, this is what I have. I don't want you to think I'm cheating by having glucose. What I would do is I would break it and I would take a quarter of one and drop it in my water. And that way, as I'm drinking, I'm getting a little bit at a time because I didn't want to shoot it sky high and then crash.
Yeah.
And so, but everybody was very understanding about it.
I actually forgot to ask about something else. You also were not forthright about your career.
No.
I'm talking about that.
I am a real estate appraiser.
True.
I do have an appraiser's license, but I'm actually the property valuation administrator for Oldham County. And I did tell them after we merged.
Okay.
Because I didn't want them to think, because I had known Pete for 15 plus years, that there was anything else going on. And let's face it, not a lot of people like the tax assessor.
I mean, as a tax accountant, I love the tax assessor. So I don't know. You just need to try with me someday.
Yes. So, but I did come clean about it.
Do you feel like it did make a difference not being upfront about that, or do you, in retrospect, maybe like, I could have said it and they would have made a difference?
I think it would have made a difference. I think the connection I would have with Pete. Now, I did say that I knew Ronnie, from the beginning, that I knew the first runner-up from last year from being an appraiser. That's not technically a lie. I may have done an appraisal in his county at one time. But Josh knew about my double agent life, that what I really did for a living.
You have no idea how much I want to see a property valuation assessor alliance of you, Pete, and Ronnie all at the same time. I would pay so much to see that happen.
When I got voted out, they said, "Would you ever do this again?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And that is so wrong, because I would go back out there next week if they would let me. And watching back the show and watching these interviews, I feel like I'm so much more prepared. I still need to exercise, but
did you have like long conversations with Ronnie post this game of just kind of comparing your experiences and what happened?
I have not talked to Ronnie because they were at summer conference and he had just retired. He was retiring. So he sent me a couple of messages. I sent him a few back. I was so far behind at work by the time I got back in. I've just been swamped. And so I haven't had a chance to really sit down. I'm hoping to get together with him and Pete one day and just have a long conversation.
Did you disclose to your work, like, hey, I'm going to be in the Tennessee Woods playing Survivor?
They all knew.
What was their reaction to it all?
They were cracking up because it's just not me. I'd never owned water shoes. I do have tennis shoes, but it was like, what do I wear? What do I take? I've never done this before. I knew I wanted a pillow though. Ronnie took a pillow. I was taking a pillow, but mine was going to be a special pillow. And with the waterproof covers over them.
You know what your job is now, right?
the toilet paper lady.
Well, you have to recruit the next generation of property valuation assessors into the show.
There we go.
So-
I have tried. I have asked everyone, and they're like, "You're crazy."
Sounds like whenever I talk to my family, it's like, Mom, Dad, do you want to do this with me? They're like, no, not at all.
So, but yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
So you survive your first tribal council,
Mhm.
and you could then go to your next immunity challenge, which eventually becomes a reward challenge. This is when you have
Yes.
to go through the hay bales, find the balls, then do a kind of a vertical table
Yes.
maze. How was this for you?
I loved that challenge. I never found a ball. That may have been the first time I yelled at poor Josh. We're holding the cut in half pipe.
Oh,
Now,
so you're thinking of the challenge after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is like you go to the hay bales, you find the balls, you come back, and there's kind of a vertical table maze. You kind of have to work the ball up through like this.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that one. I just had to run and try to get the balls. I did not see the whole sliding a ball in thing. I would have been none the wiser. And I'm not sure anyone on the tribe saw it because no one said a word, so they probably could have gotten by with it. Would it have changed the game? You're never going to know. You're never going to know. But hey, we got a popsicle out of that. And that was the best popsicle I have ever had.
So you have it. So thankfully, you're not going to the tribal council.
Yes.
With Drew gone, do you have an idea of who you want to vote up next?
I probably, I knew I was going to go along with whatever the tribe wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I think Julia was on my list. Just was on my list.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought probably she might be the weakest link, and maybe we should have kept her. I don't know. I think we would have seen a lot different game than we had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
So
your next challenge is the one where you have the little like idol on the little stand. You're trying to swap the other person's off. How was this for you?
You mean the one where I beat James up? All right, I'm getting ready to go out. It is cold. It is raining.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh and Sebastian and all of them are yelling, get out there, throw yours up in the air as high as you can get it and go after theirs and swat down. So, my first thing is I got to keep the thing on the tray. And I get out there and I just throw it up as high as I can. And I hit poor James in the chest so hard. I think it shocked him. I immediately, as soon as the challenge was over, went and apologized. And he kept telling me, it's okay, it's okay. And I'm like, no, I don't know where that aggression came from.
Survivor brings the worst out of me.
Yes. But I loved that one. Even though it was cold and it was pouring down rain, I loved that challenge.
So what I'm hearing so far is you've been a huge challenge asset for your team. And every head-to-head portion, you've come out the victor.
I've tried. I think I was surprising myself quite a bit.
So unfortunately, your tribe does not win this challenge either.
No.
And so you're going back to tribal council. What strategy were you hearing? Were you taking part in?
Once again, everybody was having these meetings. You would see 3 or 4 of them together. No one was really talking to me a lot. I think they, I would get bits and pieces here and there. And I would just say, well, this worked the last time. I'm just going to say, who do you want me to vote for? Tell me what to do, and that's where it went. They said, are you okay with voting? Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Of course, you never know what they're really thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I think, to my understanding, like, people who play the game enough, you start getting a feeling when, like, things are wrong. Like, people aren't talking to you like they normally do. Like, there seems to be a lot of side conversations without you that give you a heads up. But
see, I don't think that affected me as much because I had not played the game before. I'm a little naive in that, thinking, is this something that I should worry about or not? Well, so it may have helped me. I didn't run around paranoid.
So probably one of the things you're hearing about is that a lot of these people have played these online Survivor games.
Yes.
What
I
were
was,
your thoughts about that?
I was like, how in the world do you play these games online? It has to be all mental. And, Megan talked to me about it a little bit. It didn't come up a whole lot, but I was trying to listen and figure out. I was shocked at how they could have a conversation about, well, do you remember season 3 of Survivor when blah, blah, blah did this? And I'm like, I don't remember what we had for dinner last night. I was shocked at how versed they are. And before they would read the tree mail and they would be able to decipher what we were going to be doing before we even got there, just from the tree mail. And I'm just skipping along, eating my clovers.
So your tribe goes to the next tribal council, and this is where Julia is voted out fairly
Yes.
unanimously. You receive a vote, but from the necklace,
Yes.
and you survive your second tribal council.
Yes.
Now, I think it's after this tribal council. There's a little bit of fallout between Sebastian and the rest of your tribe. Did you see any of that?
I did. I was actually up the hill a little bit, coming down toward camp,
Mm-hmm.
and this argument erupted right in front of where we sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of listened, but I stopped. I thought, I don't want to be in the middle of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just let them have their little tit for tat. And it ended as quick as it started. I couldn't even really tell you. Bash was mad that he wasn't made part of something.
Mm-hmm.
And we had heard that already once before.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it was a spark that went out as quick as it came.
So you have your final immunity challenge of the day. This is the one where you have to transfer the ball to the chicken coop, through the PVC pipe, and then to a heavy table maze. How was this for you?
I loved that one. And that was the first one I yelled at Josh, and he joked. He looked at me and said something about blood sugar, I'm sure. And I was trying to explain to him, we're on a hill. I'm 5'2". Sharif is a giant. Sharif is up the hill. Josh is a lot taller than me down the hill. So I can reach Josh, but I'm having a hard time reaching and keeping my hand flat because your fingers couldn't touch. And I yelled, I'm only so tall, or something like that. But Josh did a phenomenal job at that. The tribe mates that were putting the little balls through, I could have never done that. They did a phenomenal job. But I thought it was a really fun challenge. And I felt like I did my part.
And your tribe won, finally.
Yes, finally.
Now, Parker has a question. What if your tribe had lost again? Do you know who you would have liked to vote out at that point?
Probably would have went after Bash again.
Mm-hmm.
Just because he was a strong player, but he was all over the place.
Well, the next thing that happens is, you get back to camp, you're able to enjoy some time, and then at some point Josh is taken away. And you all learn that it is a tribe swap and things are changing up.
Yes.
And so your Unoga tribe is now a little bit different.
Yes.
It's now going to be you, Josh, and Sharif, with some newcomers, Dina, James, Casey, and Keenan. Talk to me about this new tribe.
My little triangle was still intact, so I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
We were getting a break from Bash, and I was getting to meet some people I had not met yet. Being Dina, who I thought was fabulous. Didn't get to play long enough with her. I've seen some of her Facebook posts and things now. I mean, she's beautiful, beautiful woman. And she's just good inside and out. Who else came over? James.
Yep.
I loved him. I apologized again. And he was so upfront when he came. He said, listen, I stutter. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to complete my sentences for me. I'll get it out. I loved it. Is that when we got Keenan?
Yeah,
Oh
so we
yeah,
got Keenan.
Keenan. I would tease Keenan when we were in the jury room. I had a little story about each of my sons because it was me and all the guys. Keenan was my little boy. Keep one eye open while you sleep to see what Keenan's going to do next. He slept next to me.
Mhm.
I'd rather sleep next to all of my grandchildren at the same time. This good boy is moving and stealing my pillow, but he had such watching him trying to make fire and wondering which finger was going to get cut off first. But he never gave up. He never gave up. And Keenan, I don't blame you for messing up the flint because it worked just fine. And, I've talked to Keenan's mom. I apparently have an open door invitation anytime I want to go to Canada. And I think probably Keenan will end up being my favorite person, even above Josh, just because he's such a good soul. And I just know one day we're going to see him on TV, whether it be Survivor or he's the new action hero. I don't know. He is going to be on TV one day. And I hope he remembers me at the Oscars and says, thanks, Barb. So.
And finally, Casey.
Casey was pretty quiet to me most of the time. Very nice, but just really didn't spend any time trying to get to know me or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I think there's, I'm gonna remember you famous or not famous. So, there's one other. Before we get along, we have to talk a little bit more about Tommy Tabasco. Because this is where his journey really begins, right?
Yes. We had won some Tabasco sauce, and it never failed when we were going to either tribal or to a challenge. Bash would forget something.
Mm-hmm.
Might be his torch, it might be his water bottle. He's always running back. Okay, we're not stupid, Bash. We know you're looking for an idol. Mm-hmm. But when Bash came back up, I noticed he had the toilet paper that was part of the tribe. And I thought, And I said, you can't take anything that is part of the tribe because this is mine. I said, no, it's not. And I just let it go because I knew we had enough toilet paper. Mm-hmm. So we get back and we realize he's taken the Tabasco sauce. And that just became a sore spot with me. I don't even like Tabasco sauce.
Cheers to no Tabasco.
Exactly. And then it became a joke. And when we all were reunited, he thought it was really funny. He said, yeah, I took it. And I think I muttered to him, it shows your true self. And it just, I harped on it to Pete and Pete gave me another bottle of it. And we decided, we'll talk about that later on when little Timmy Tabasco went to tribal with us in the finals. So, but yeah, it just, it was and I think it probably wouldn't have been so bad, but I want to say it was Angela laughed about it. We got it. And I thought, we worked to win that. Not you guys, but I let it go. I'm just a stickler for rules, I guess. It's Tabasco. I know.
Oh, I just remember seeing the final tribal speech. I'm just like, there's a lot of context I'm missing right now.
Something you have not mentioned that I have seen in any of the other interviews is Sandra Bullock. Did you not hear us yell Sandra Bullock after we won every time?
Oh man, maybe it's just been slipping my mind. Talk to me about this.
It was one of the first nights we're talking about movies, and somehow every movie we bring up has Sandra Bullock in it. What is so odd, the same night the Yellow Tribe was discussing Sandra Bullock. So when that Immunity Idol came out, the group one, we named it Sandra Bullock.
Mm-hmm.
And so after we would win, we would say, "Oh, Sandra Bullock." We're hoping she catches wind of it and has us all come to her place. I don't know why you're out there. How can we talk about garlic bread for 4 hours? But we did.
I mean, was that the food of choice that people talk about, garlic bread?
That night it was garlic bread, yes. Mm-hmm. Because the handlers would come down and tell us what they were having.
Oh, that's just cruel.
And sometimes they bring it with them. And, there was, I love the fact there was that little tent down there and they zip tied it when they would leave. And if the zip ties broke, then we lose all of our luxury items. And I'm like, daggone people. It's a tent.
I think there's nothing more natural than Survivor players talking way too much about food. I think that's just the conversation of choice.
The time, and you never knew what time it was.
Yeah.
Reelfoot
time.
We would say, okay, what time is it? And somebody would say, oh, it's 3:00. It might have been. It might have been 8:00. We don't know. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah.
My season was the season of the AM Crunchwrap Supreme Taco Bell. that was the major conversation piece for many hours.
Yes. We talked about a lot of food, a lot.
So on your new tribe, right, there's 3 original Hinoga with you, Josh, and Sharif, and you have these 4 newcomers, Dina, James, Casey, and Keenan. Are you worried at all, given that your original tribe is down the numbers?
Yeah, of course we're worried about it. We knew that we were going to have to stick together and we were going to have to pull somebody else in. Mm-hmm. Was it going to be Dina? At that point, we didn't know Josh and Dina knew each other. Mm-hmm. And he kept that a really good secret, and it was probably for the best. It was a fluke that the 3 of us got through. I think it really was just a fluke.
Well, because one of the first things that happens is Casey just defects. He's like, I'm done with yellow. Take me blue.
And we took him, and honestly, I can't remember who brought Dina up. I really can't remember who brought voting her out. I just knew that I really liked Keenan and I really, really liked James. Mm-hmm. I really didn't talk a lot to Dina, even though, we just weren't together long enough. Mm-hmm. So, and Dina says probably Josh, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was him for some reason. Mm-hmm. It could have been. It could have been a talk between him and Sharif.
So you have another night at this point, your tribe camp has become, I think people described as a swamp.
Oh, yes. That was, it rained. Mm-hmm. We asked for our rain jackets, and that took a little while. By the time Pete brought them, it wasn't raining, so he wasn't happy with us. But at that point, we just wanted something to cover up with. And I remember waking up that morning, and I had a thing, don't bring your shoes in the front door, because then you get mud all over everything. You get in from the back if you're going to keep your shoes on. And I remember getting up that morning. I was going to go down and go to the bathroom, and Storm was laying there. And I think his feet were about 3 feet out of the tent. And I mean, just sunk down in mud. And I'm like, and it was bad. It never dried up after that. Mm-hmm. It was just, I can't tell you how many times we all fell. And at that point, we just had mud everywhere.
So on day 4, you have your first immunity challenge. This is the fishing for immunity, where you have to race out, collect those fish letter pieces,
yes,
come back, and then scramble a word.
Yes.
Where are you in this challenge?
I swam Sorry, my boyfriend's flashing me there. Um, I swam to the first dock, and immediately, as soon as I got there, I realized, boy, these are tied tight.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say I couldn't pull them off. I didn't untie any of them. I broke them all off, set them up, went around, swam back, got mine up there.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Josh had some trouble with it, and I had told him before he went, just jerk them, as hard as you can, they'll break.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if his were tighter or, it seemed like he was trying to untie them. I just broke mine.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I would have been no good at putting those letters together in any viable form. So I knew that I was going to be swimming, and I'm a pretty good swimmer, and that water felt wonderful. So.
Well, it's a close call, but your tribe does solve the word puzzle, a victory at sea.
Yes.
Did you go back and see the video of the other tribe trying to solve the puzzle?
Yes, and they had it. They had it. We just, it was kind of like a trade in the puzzle where Josh's knee was on the puzzle piece and they ended up winning. It was kind of almost the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
They really should have probably beat us.
Josh notes he's not as strong as you, so he couldn't tug it off.
You big wuss, go to the gym.
So when you're looking at the other tribe, right? The other tribe has 3 of your original blue members, Carly, Megan, Sebastian. Do you have any guess who would go home first of those 3?
I thought it was going to be Carly.
Okay.
Just because I thought Sebastian and Megan would mesh really well over there. I knew Megan could fit in with the girls. And I thought Bash, he has the personality where he could fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, you call it. Carly is the next one voted out on that tribe.
Yes.
And then from there, you have the Pete's Palooza Challenge. This is the run out, answer trivia questions, then shoot some hoops.
I had to set out on that one.
So
I knew running was not going to be me, and Lord knows you don't want me to try to shoot a basketball.
So this is the only challenge you don't can participate in, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
But I cheered. Yeah, it was the only one I did not participate in.
Do you wish you played in it?
No. I didn't look at that book. Okay.
Well, you might have been the difference between losing and winning for your tribe if you had been in it.
It could have been, but I would have needed to run to the first one.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the extent of my running ability. And if I had missed it, we'd have been screwed if I had to run back. So I thought the team did a phenomenal job. I thought all of our runners did really, really well. And it
Mm-hmm.
just came down to luck of the throw of the ginormous ball.
Mm-hmm.
The wind was hitting it. I think we did everything we could have done.
So between this challenge and going to the next tribal council,
Mm-hmm.
what strategy talk were you part of? What were you hearing?
Again, nobody's talking to me. And I thought, every once in a while, someone say, hey, do you want to go for a walk?
Mm-hmm.
But they never really said much.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? And I thought, this is working for me.
Mm-hmm.
This sitting back and just, at night telling them the real estate story. We would talk, we were in the boudoir. We had a movie room. We had an upstairs bathroom and a downstairs bathroom. And then the guys got us a half bath because they got tired of walking. And, we would talk about the lush greenery. This is working for me. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to keep riding it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do enough in the challenges to keep my name off their tongues. And just sit back and listen. It's working.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think of me as a threat.
And so at that tribal council, you, along with Casey, Sharif, and Josh, vote out Dina and a 4-2-1-1 vote. And so you blindside every member, really, almost every member of the opposing tribe.
Yes.
Keenan and James were both like, what happened?
Yeah.
What was the aftermath of that tribal council like?
It wasn't bad. Josh and Sharif and they knew I would vote however they were voting. I knew there had to be a reason. I wasn't sure what it was. And I thought to myself, at this point, I'm realizing she may be really good at these online games, and maybe somebody recognizes her, and she's going to be a huge, huge threat. And if that's why they're getting rid of her, hey, I can go for that. Again, it's not me. So I wish she would have stayed longer. I really, really do. That's probably, I think if she had stayed in and we could have gotten the girls back from yellow when we all merged, been a totally different game. You would have seen maybe 3 females on that final.
Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, like, in the game, like, are we getting to emerge, right? Are we going to collapse down to one tribe? Is that something you're thinking a lot about, or just like round by round? Let's survive.
I'm praying that we're getting ready to get to emerge, because I remembered last year that big breakfast they had, and I couldn't quit thinking about biscuits and gravy and bacon. And so every time they would yell tree mail, I'm like, please let it be for food. And but we knew it was coming, and I was listening, and everybody's saying, well, they have to go to this number, or they could have a tie vote in the finale, and this factored in and that factored in. And at that point, I thought, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to do my challenges. And when they tell me it's food time, it's food time.
And so you get tree mail, but it says come to new challenge.
Yes.
And so you go to the challenge side, and kind of walk me through the bit of chaos that happens.
Is that where we merged?
This is where you swap again.
Oh gosh, yes, we swap again, and we get Bash back. And
well, I think no. So you get the map right, and you swap again, right? And so you get Storm now.
Okay, and that's when Storm's feet were hanging out. Then
yeah, so you get Storm. Megan comes back to you, and you initially keep Keenan.
Yes.
And then
now is this where where Angela ran up and handed Keenan? Okay, Keenan cost himself that round, and Keenan will come on here and tell you he cost himself that. When she gave that to him, and I realized what it was, and Josh had said he was going to do the mutiny and come back to the blue tribe. I went up and I said in Keenan's ear, don't take the mutiny, stay with us. I knew if I could get Keenan, and we had Josh, we had Megan, Sharif, I needed those numbers, and I said, don't take it. I will make you a promise. If we go to tribal this next challenge and you're on the block, I'll take the hit and leave. I'll tell them to vote for me. And I've done it. I don't know. But I think I would have, because I had not really lied at that point. I may have stretched the truth a little. But I said, don't do it, Keenan. I said, they're not going to keep you. We need the numbers, and you are fitting in really good here. And he goes, okay. And the next thing I know, he's going off to the other team. And he told me when we were in the jury room, he said, I should have listened to you. I said, yep. Because I probably would have held up my end of the bargain. But I think with those numbers, it wasn't going to be an issue if we could have gotten him there. So
no, it would have changed things a lot had Keenan stayed on that tribe.
Yes.
But Keenan and Josh swap again. So Josh comes back to your blue tribe. Keenan jumps up to the yellow tribe.
Yes.
Do you see Ryan make a handoff to Storm?
I did not see it, but I sure heard about it. And I mean, it was the talk before we even got past the barn of walking back. Did you see that? Did you see that? And again, I'm just listening, because whatever they're handing off, I can't believe someone's going to hand something off to someone on another tribe that really had any power to it. So, but there was a lot of talk about it, and they said it was so obvious they really didn't believe it. So.
And so you jump straight into your new you jump straight into an immunity challenge in the new tribe. This is the endurance challenge of holding the weighted bags above your head.
Yes.
How was this for you?
I enjoyed it too because I knew I was going to be the first one out. I had my 2 5-pound bags, I think is what it was. The problem was you couldn't look up because that sand was seeping through. And, Sharif was telling me, just get through your first 5 minutes and I'll take your bags. And I think I could have done another 5 minutes with both bags, but he said, just give them to me. I'm fine.
Mhm.
And I said, okay. So I stepped out. I do have, I'm pretty good at holding the stuff above my head.
Mhm.
So I think I could have done more, but again, I did my part, what they asked me to do. I think it's sad that Angela did let her arm drop. I think it would have been a great challenge to watch.
Mhm. So your tribe wins, and you get to head back to camp with no worry about tribal council.
Yes.
And talk to me about the new tribe dynamic. This is practically almost old Unoga. You're just missing Bash, and now you have Casey and Storm for the party.
I love Storm. Uh, Again, he started the whole. Let me tell you what Bash is doing. Bash is calling you and Sharif and Josh the Holy Trinity trilogy, and I'm just eating it up, hook, line, and sinker. And I look at him, I said, well, I guess I should be happy that somebody thinks I'm a threat in this. Um, so I kind of took it, and if I'd honestly thought about it, let's face it, Storm told so many lies, but he played a great game. He didn't tell a lie that was going to hurt anybody,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but yeah, it was interesting to see that. Um, Again, everybody's trying to figure out who's doing what. Are they going to be loyal to us? Or are they going to be loyal to the yellow tribe? Casey, like you said, he came to us hook, line, and sinker. He was,
Mm-hmm.
he was in. And Storm he was never going to side with the blue, but he was very nice about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
So when you're looking at the other tribe is Angela, James, Keenan, Lauren, Ryan, all original yellow players, and Bash. Did you think Bash was dead to rights?
we thought Bash was going every time. And then he would be there the next time. And we're like, what are they thinking? So it's like we couldn't get rid of them.
Because you go to your next immunity challenge on day 5, and Bash is there, and James is gone.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker. A lot of us were really sad to see James go, and to see Bash still there.
But this gets us to probably your favorite immunity challenge. This is the blindfold challenge. Talk me through this one.
Once again, I'm going to blame blood sugar. Being blindfolded is bad enough. Being blindfolded in 100 degrees is even worse. Now, we have people standing around the water.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, they're yelling, you are 2 feet from falling in the lake. Okay, 2 feet in what direction? So that was irritating me. And Josh goes, I know I yelled your name 5,000 times. No, you didn't. Or if you did, you forgot to say my name. You were just giving directions. And I just stood there for what seemed like hours, which I'm sure was 30 seconds, nothing. And I'm going, any direction, give me something. I've already been on the ground crawling around this, trying to find this. So finally, I think I yelled, what about me or something? Give me something. I can't remember what I said, but it will go down in history. I'm sure at some time, if that funniest home videos ever comes back out, someone's winning $100,000 with that video. And that was the second time I yelled at Josh, and I apologized. But I did find 2.
Mm-hmm.
I did find 2. And Megan was just phenomenal at putting that through the little slots. The one thing I noticed with us, the same person did everyone. I think on the other tribe, whoever had that one would actually go up and put it in. But then we also noticed they were doing it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
They were putting it in backward or upside down. And I can't remember if it was Josh looked over at Bash and says, "You have them, upside down." And he smiled and goes, "Yeah, I know." So did Bash throw that? I don't know.
I remember when I did this challenge, it's a little bit like your tribe. Our caller had one person hand me the things and I would put it in.
Yeah.
So I think it helps having a consistent person just
Yes.
do it in routine. Your tribe wins again. You're on a winning
Yes.
streak. And so you're looking at the yellow tribe: Angela, James, Angela, Keenan, Lauren, Ryan, Sebastian. And again, you think Sebastian's going to be gone?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
you get tree mail. You've made it to merge, and you look at the yellow team, and who is still there but
Sebastian.
and
He just won't go away.
And Keenan is voted out at the last tribal council.
Yes. And I looked over and I said to Josh, I promised him the sun, moon, and stars. And he turned it down.
So making the merge is a big moment in the game for
Yeah.
a lot of the avid Survivor fans. That's really kind of a big hallmark of you're good at Survivor if you can make the merge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how are you feeling making that massive checkpoint?
I was so proud of myself. You start out, a lot of people say, don't start out with, I just don't want to be the first one voted out.
Mm-hmm.
Start out with, I want to win. Well, yeah, we all want to win, but only one person's going to win. So I just took it day by day. I didn't want to be the first one voted out of my tribe. I didn't, then it was like, okay, I want to be able to compete in at least a couple of challenges. And then it was, I'd really like to make it to merge. And when I hit merge, I thought, if I go at any time here on out, I've accomplished more than I ever thought I would, but I really would like to stay a little bit longer. So,
how are you feeling physically this is kind of end of day 5? How are you feeling?
I'm running really low on glucose. That's when that started.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm down to 3 tablets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know I need to start rationing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a little tired, having a little trouble sleeping. You have a lot of trouble concentrating when it starts getting low. And I'm not used to low blood sugars.
Mm-hmm.
I was starting to worry, but I thought, just get out there, drink water, drink water, drink water.
Mm-hmm.
Eat the clovers, eat whatever rice. I think that was the day, the immunity or the merge day. We had cooked some rice that morning,
mm-hmm.
and I was able to eat 10 grains before I got sick, because you just don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
You would rather eat dirt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had gotten to the point, Josh had the powdered garlic pills.
Mm-hmm.
We were shaving them with a machete and putting them in the rice for a little garlic flavor, since we didn't have any Tabasco sauce.
That is the best use of the garlic pills I've ever heard.
See, all of us had the gel, which didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
but he had the powder. So we shaved them. And the clover actually tastes like broccoli. A little bitter, but the texture is like a broccoli floret.
So for future Reelfoot players, you want to go for the powdered garlic pills, not the gel ones, for all your tick and rice flavoring needs.
Absolutely. Put me on a cooking show. I will show them how to take whatever you can find in your medicine cabinet and make a meal.
Well, speaking of meals, you then get to have a fabulous meal from Applebee's.
It was great. It was wonderful. You start out wholeheartedly eating. And I'm sitting there watching Lauren and Megan thinking, my God, they've already finished their burgers. And I still have 3/4 of mine. And I know I'm not going to eat any more of it because I'm done. I'd had some fries. I had drank a lot of the juice to get my blood sugar up. I avoided the champagne. And I see Storm sitting next to me, and I say, Storm, if you want the rest of my burger, you can have it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I cut it. It's not like I ate off of it.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, oh, no, no, you need to eat that. And I said, okay, but they won't let me take it back with them. And if I eat anymore, I'm going to get sick. And he kept saying, no, no, no. And a few minutes later, he came by, well, if you're not going to eat that. So Storm ate 3/4 of my hair, a little over half, close to
Mm-hmm.
3/4 of my burger. And, he's a much bigger guy. He needed the calories,
Mm-hmm.
and I had eaten all I could. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, Applebee's, thank you. It was wonderful.
So your merge camp, correct me if I'm wrong, that was the old Yellow Tribe, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about the new campsites.
Yeah, we were pissed. We were not happy campers when we got there. And it was, what did we do to deserve that camp? I mean, when the Yellow Tribe actually went back and told, that had merged with us and then come back, they're like, you won't believe how bad their camp is. Now,
Mm-hmm.
did we have the luxury items? Yes, we had the pillows, we had the mats, we had the extra tarp, but it was like night and day. They had a phenomenal campsite. Phenomenal. They even had a hollowed out tree to keep their wood in to keep it warm or to keep it dry. We had nothing, you know. We had snakes and
So
armadillo.
So you finally get to meet the last members of the cast you haven't had the chance to meet. You get to meet Lauren, Angela, and Ryan all for the first time. So talk
Yes.
to me about your impressions.
Angela, I had actually been sequestered with in the beginning. And like I said, the air conditioning wasn't working in that room. So they had a fan going and it was just blowing right on me. I looked like a model with my hair flying. And Angela's talking about how hot it is. And I thought, okay, game hasn't started yet. It's time to get this going. So I take the fan and I'm walking across the room and I plug it in next to her and I position it so she can play fashion model for a while. And she looks at me and she goes, well, thank you. We weren't supposed to be talking to each other. And she actually offered it back a little while later. And I said, no, I'm fine. Because then the air had kicked on. They didn't realize I was sitting next to the air vent too. And then Sebastian was sitting there eating his soft batch cookies. So I had met her. Lauren and I got to talking about how I was scared of her. She's so sweet. She
Mhm.
really is. And then Ryan, super nice guy. Super nice. I think he was the other one from Kentucky, wasn't he? Works for Amazon.
La, 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 let me check. He's from Hocking Hills, Ohio. I believe he is, I have him as warehouse employee, so
Yeah,
probably
he works
Amazon.
for Amazon.
Mhm.
They had it projected over their entire warehouse, this big screen TV going.
Oh my gosh,
I had
really?
told my staff they could keep it on all day on one of our computers, so they watched me, and they were leaving messages, and it became, my mom would run up to see what was going on. Was she
Mhm.
still in it? Yeah, she's still in it. So
Um,
they were very welcoming. Um, it was obvious Bash was no longer blue
mhm.
at all in any way, shape, or form, nor was he going to defect back to blue. He was going to protect the yellow no matter what.
Mhm.
So I think at one point I actually said, I don't, in a confession, maybe when I voted for him, I said, I don't know if you're the master manipulator or the master player.
Mhm.
I think he was both.
Mhm.
So.
So now that you're in the merged tribe, you then get to complete your first individual immunity challenge, and this is the
Yes.
challenge where you have to hold up and have a plate with the discs being stacked up higher
Yes.
and higher. How was this for you?
I think Lauren and I probably said the same thing. We're not real tall, so our arms are shorter. We
Mhm.
had a hard time reaching up. So somebody with longer arms would have done much better than that. I was shocked when mine fell. I wasn't prepared for it.
Mhm.
It did scare me. But it was a fun one. If it hadn't fallen, I could have went several more rounds,
Mhm.
But then again, it fell. But
Um,
weight wise, I could have went several more rounds.
So, how was your first night at the new campsite?
That was nice. I mean, we had blankets. Speaking of the blanket, you were one of the things with Julia. The day we got the blanket, it was so cold that night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was decided if you got one of the pillows or one of the sleeping mats, you just got one. We were sharing them. So Josh and I ended up with the blanket since we were on the end.
Mm-hmm.
And she came over and she says, "Excuse me, I need to advocate for myself. I would be more comfortable laying on that blanket tonight, and I think I would sleep better. So I'll need you to give it to me." And I look at Josh, and Josh looks at me, and I'm thinking, she has a mat and a pillow. And Josh, I want to say, Josh said, "Quarter turn," and just turned. So that's where the whole Julia, that may have been some of the irritation.
Mm-hmm.
But no, their campsite was wonderful. They slept a lot different than us. We slept in our shelter.
Mm-hmm.
They slept around the fire more.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little different for us. But once we got all of the stuff over there, instantly, a new camp tent was made and everything. We had taken a bunch of our bamboo and taken that down there, made sure we had enough of firewood and everything. And they kind of showed us around where they kept their wood dry. They still had their big logs that they had got as a reward.
Mm-hmm.
And but they kind of showed us around and everything. So they were welcoming, and they loved the fact that we had a lot more rice than they did.
So this whole merge is opening up with this giant clash between the two tribes, right? Mm-hmm. You have 5 original yellow, 5 original blue, but Casey and Sebastian have kind of just defected to the other side. Yes. And then you have a couple of middle players like Megan. And so it's kind of a question of which side is going to win out. Who were you talking to? What did you see happening?
They talked to me even less at that point. Okay. And I'm thinking this is working for me. Mm-hmm. So, they would say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And I think, is this where Josh goes out?
Yeah. So Josh is the first one that goes out.
I had no clue that they were going to vote Josh. And as soon as we were done voting and we were walking away, Megan runs up to me and says, "I need to talk to you as soon as we get to camp." And I'm still kind of a little shocked. And so we get back. She said, "We couldn't tell you. We knew you would never vote for Josh." And she was right. I would have never written Josh's name or Sharif's name down. Just would not have done it. I'd made them that promise and I would have stuck to it. I said, well, you could have at least told me. Mm-hmm. Maybe I would have. And she says, "No, you wouldn't, because you wouldn't have went back on your word." Mm-hmm. So that one was a big shock to me. And that was hard that first night, not having my cuddle buddy and the person who, now I didn't have somebody on that end. I have to fend for myself. Josh was a good help through there. Mm-hmm. But again, Angela, very, very nice. Always included me in the day-to-day. But as for I usually wasn't approached until the last minute. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And then I would get the complimentary, "What do you think?" If you cared what I thought, you wouldn't have waited until 10 minutes before we leave to go. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it would have been, with the exception of Josh, I would have voted anyway. At that point, I knew Angela was going to be in the finals. I had no doubt about it. She had played a good game, but she had also played a great social game. She kind of had that social game like I did. Mm-hmm. So she was going to be a big threat.
Talk to me about your relationship with Bash, right? Because you were on the same tribe early on. He goes to yellow, takes Tommy Tabasco with him. What happens when you reunite with him in this merge tribe?
He called me aside almost immediately, and he said, "I never said that." And I said, "Well, I can tell you what Storm told me."
This is the Holy Trinity comment, right?
Yes. And he goes, "Well, I'm really hurt that you think I would say something like that." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't take it as a disrespectful thing. I kind of took it as a compliment." I said, "It really doesn't matter, Bash." But that was it. Bash was done with me at that point. He said, my name was coming out of his mouth every single time after that, every time. So he took it as an insult. Maybe he was threatened by me because I was playing the social game. Maybe the social game he wanted. So, but yeah, my name was coming out of his mouth every time after the merge. So.
Did you know about the whole plan with the tribal council with like Casey giving up immunity to Sharif, Josh giving the fake idol to Sharif?
Yes, Josh and Sharif and Casey had told me they were going to do this big production thing, and I was just going to sit back and see what happened to see who, because I thought for sure somebody's not going to hold up their end of this, and but they did. I mean, it was.
What was your reaction to Ryan's idol getting played, and then you saw Storm's idol getting played?
It was trying to figure, okay, whose was real again? Whose isn't real? At that point, let's just end this travel, just tell us who's going home.
Well, Megan ends up being the key vote from that tribal council. And did you know that did you feel like she was with you, or did you have a feeling she was going to be jumping ship to the other side?
I thought she was with me. I understood why she jumped. She had been able to make that bond with Lauren and Angela. So they were more powerful than I was. But I think if some people had stopped to think, I'm not going to win immunity, most likely, unless it's just a fluke. You come up with something I'm good at, like math, taxes. But
cheers. That's my mini challenge. Like, where is my 1040 form? Like, let me fill that out, please.
Let's talk about homestead exemptions. But I knew that Megan was going to do whatever got Megan the furthest, and that's part of the game. So, I know I could go to her house. She'd let me crash there. So. But yeah, I did think, Megan was going to go. But Megan, like I said, she immediately told me why they did what they did. And, she still wanted an all-girl finale.
So after Josh is voted out, you then have your next immunity challenge. This is where you have to balance the ball on a very heavy paddle.
Yes.
How was this challenge for you?
That one was hard. The wind was blowing. If you noticed in that challenge and the one with the clay pigeons, I drew the end on both of them. One end, the left end on one, the right end on the other. I was getting all the wind. So I knew that ball was going down. I just, didn't want to be the first one, and I wasn't.
So for the first time in the game, right, you aren't in the majority, right? This is really the first time that things are kind of flipped on you.
Yes.
Were you feeling in danger this round, or what was going on afterwards?
I really thought this was it for me. And, I had said several times, hey, if it's my turn, just tell me, I'm fine with it, and they're like, it's not you. So.
Was anyone taking the time to talk with you with this travel?
No. So I thought I'll just try this again.
And so
I think that's when did we take popcorn to that one? No, that I have to be voted out to take popcorn.
So this is where Casey is voted out.
Yes.
You also vote for Casey.
Yes.
And so
somebody whispered it to me on the way, I'm sure. And to me, kind of wanted a guy out anyway. I would have rather had Bash, but nobody was going for it. they had decided that Bash was going to the end because they did not feel he would get any votes.
Mhm.
So, and they were right.
After this, you have an immunity challenge, right? And this is where you have to hold on to a rope, the four people holding a rope, and you stack those blocks up, right?
Yeah. I cost our team that one.
What happened there for you?
I let the rope hit the ground, and so we had to start over. And that other team just did it amazingly quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they got the reward to go eat.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 of us went back and didn't eat.
So it's you, Storm, Sharif, and Lauren. Any talking happened then, or anything interesting happened then?
We got back. Everybody talked. We were all helping each other look for the idol. At this point, I'm telling any clue I could have, and I have none for that tribe. So we're all looking, and we did a little video together.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good night. Even though we didn't get to go eat, it was a really good night. So,
well, you go straight then to your next immunity challenge, right? The people from the reward challenge come back, and maybe this is your second least favorite challenge. It's another memory challenge.
Yes.
This is where you have the different boxes. You have to kind of like try to memorize everything, and then you have to answer questions about what you saw.
Yeah. That was not my challenge. I had no glucose at that point. and there was none coming. And, it was supposed to have been there Thursday morning. It didn't show up Thursday night. I knew I was screwed. So, and that just, looking at it, we didn't know until a little bit in that the boxes had numbers on them.
Mm-hmm.
And you needed to know those box numbers for it to even work. Now, Bash did phenomenal in that. I don't know if he has a photographic memory or what.
So at this point in the game, the majority of the tribe are women. Was there any thought to maybe grab Lauren, grab Angela, grab Megan, right? And kind of say, hey, let's all stick together and form a women alliance and ride this to the end?
They were taking Bash. So it was going to be Bash and, then it would have been 3 girls. And I wasn't going to be one of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
We had a long talk that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, they're like, we can't take you to the finals because everybody in the jury house calls you mom. Mm-hmm. We can't beat you. You've played the perfect social game. And I just told him, listen, if I'm going out 8th or 7th, let's just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but there's one deal. If you're going to do it, there's no gameplay tonight.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sneaking off and talking.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to sit here and just be the 8 of us and get to know each other. There was a lot of tears shed that night. But nobody went off. So I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I was good with it. Those 7 that were left deserved to be there. Maybe not Bash, but no, he deserved to be there.
So Sharif doesn't vote for you.
Sharif, that next morning, Bash went up to Sharif and said, I think she's going to blindside us. I think she's got a plan. We all need to vote for Barbara. And Sharif said, I will not write her name down. And he says, well, we all need to write it down. And he says, I just told you I will not write her name down.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just said, listen, if I'm going, I need to know who hasn't had any votes. And Angela goes, I've never had one. I said, Angela, I'm going to write your name down.
Merry Christmas.
And she goes, oh. And that's what Sharif wrote down was her name also. I said, give me a little dignity. Don't make it all one, And,
thankfully, it's not the only time she caught votes, so she can't blame you for that.
Okay. I knew at that point Angela's going to win this.
Mhm.
I just felt it. Angela was going to win it. I honestly, though, thought it would be Angela, Megan, and Bash. That's who I thought the final three would be.
Well, day 7 comes after last night.
Mhm.
You have tribal council, and not surprisingly, you are voted out. But
Yes.
you have one last thing you have to do after you're voted out is you get to mark a player.
Mhm.
And how do you choose to mark Bash of the players?
Oh, I knew I was giving it to Bash. There was no doubt about it. But I was trying to be nice about it. So I said, "Oh, Bash, I thought about giving it to you. And then I thought, no, I'm just going to do any, meeny, miny, mo. It landed on you anyway." And I just gave it to him. I knew it was going to him. My thought was, you turned your back on the blue. Well, this is blue giving you a kick in the ass. Because I stayed blue the whole time. Sharif, I, and Josh were blue from the get-go.
Mhm.
So,
But your time in the game isn't quite over. You are now a jury member, and you get to decide who will win the game.
yes.
Talk me through your experience post-game in Ponderosa and as a jury member.
Oh, God, Ponderosa was hell on earth. We thought Blue Tribe was bad. It was me, Josh, Casey, Ryan, Sharif, James, Keenan, Lauren, and Megan at one point, all in this room that is a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't the Ponderosa, it's a bedroom. Not even a bedroom with a bathroom. It's a bedroom with no air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
We were not allowed to talk to anyone that wasn't in that room. And we had asked to leave the door open, and because it was so hot without the air working, and Dina kept coming in. We got in trouble for it. And that's when everybody got pissed, because we had to shut the door again. There was a lot of talk as you came in, and it was just, they were bombarding you with questions, and it was overwhelming James. He was tired of hearing it. He had heard every last one of them. And that's when James was moved to another room for the evening and given some time on his own, because it was overwhelming. And I told him, I said, "You're hitting us so quick with questions. We can't even remember the order of the games we played, much less who was voted out when."
Mm-hmm.
And all you want's a shower at that point. And as soon as I walked in, I saw Milo tea setting on the counter. I said, "That's what I want, is a glass of iced tea. Just bring me tea." But yeah, there's a lot of talking going on. It was made very clear that Bash would not get one vote.
Mm-hmm.
And that was amongst everyone. I'm not sure why some people felt that way, but he was not getting a vote.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, talk to me about what you were looking for in a winner. Like, what did you value?
I would love to have seen a woman win it.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought Angela played a very good game. I thought Lauren played a very good game, and Megan.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've looked back, Storm played a phenomenal game.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have seen Sharif win it, just because he's a class act.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I still felt Angela had it.
So let's say it's Sharif versus Angela at the end. Who do you vote for?
Sharif.
Okay. Megan versus Angela.
Megan.
Okay. So there's a heavy blue tribe that you're heavily favoring blue tribe a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, my cat is in my lap, is what I keep looking at.
What's your cat's name?
This is Nico.
Hi, Nico.
And the other one is Luke, and I've never held Luke. He's cantankerous.
What do you think there was anything Storm could have said that would have swayed you?
Actually, Storm was starting to sway me. If that had probably went on a little longer, he may have gotten the vote. I don't know if Bash knew he wasn't getting votes, But certainly after everything he said at the final tribal about how he was involved in every single vote off, no matter what tribe. He was this, he was that, he was in, and we're all just like, did anyone else play the game other than Bash? um, he wasn't getting the votes, and people were getting irritated. Did I take jabs at him? Yes, with the Tabasco. You know, there's only so many ways you can ask, why should I vote for you? And that's why I decided when I got up there, I'm going to ask a random question. Not one of them answered it correctly. You
Remind
know,
me your question.
it was if you were a superhero, which one would you want to be and why? They all picked a family member. Those, no. I asked you to pick a character. You know, Wonder Woman, Batman, Spider-Man, and you know, Bash. It's obvious Bash loves his daughter. If that's his hero, that's great. That's wonderful. You know, it just he was already mad at me, and I kind of knew not exactly what Lauren was going to ask, but I knew it was going to be something where they had to write one of our names down. And I thought, well, if it's anything negative, I knew Bash was going to put my name down, and he did. And it was, you know, what was the question?
Who least deserves to be in the jury?
Yeah, and he put me, and I don't know why KC got every single one of them. You know, but
Casey drew the short end of the stick, but with the yellow tribe. That's all I can say.
Yeah, apparently so. And it didn't bother me that he put it on there. I mean, I probably deserved it. And then when he asked to see the container of Tabasco, I don't trust you. So, and I think that really hit him when I said that. And it was a joke. Maybe I shouldn't have said it. We talked afterwards. He was very quiet after the finale, stayed to himself for the most part. So,
I mean, the first game I ever played, I lost at the finals. It was kind of my Survivor nightmare and dream, getting through the game and just getting dunked at the end, and I just wanted to leave. And so that's what I was saying. Like these games, like it's surprising, like how emotionally invested and entangled it can be, because like you like spend like 6, 7, 8 days involved in this thing. You're suddenly you're back in the real world.
Well, you know what was funny in the jury room? I ended up sleeping right next to Josh. There were only so many cots, and for some reason they had told us to bring blow up mattresses, but then they wouldn't let us use them in the jury room. So I said, I'm just as fine on the floor. And I realized Josh had been smart enough to put his bed right next to the air vent. So at night when the air did start working, he was cool as a cucumber. So I just rearranged his blanket so it wasn't covering the air vent, and I slept right next to it. And so in the evening, it was pretty nice. I think I probably got to know most of them the best during that one night with them. Myself, Lauren, James, I thought there was one more. We went to Walmart with Pete.
Ooh.
And you'd have thought we had never been out before. We were like fools. We bought $123 worth of junk food. I hosted an ice cream party. And we come out to the car. Pete's gone. We can't find Pete. Car's empty. We're standing around. We're looking around with a few drug deals probably going down around us. And this wasn't the best Walmart in town.
Holding a melting ice cream.
Yes. And we're like, where's Pete? We send James in, I think, to find out where Pete is. Nobody can find Pete. Finally, Pete comes out with his makings for hash brown casserole. And we're like, where were you? You know, and unbeknownst to us at the time, he had a fractured leg he was walking on. And because he's got a boot on now. But, you know, we really kind of got to know each other. I've never seen people eat so much salsa and chips in my life. but we ate nonstop. We gained everything back right then and there. So, that one night we gained every ounce back.
Yeah, Josh notes that the first jury members maybe were cheapskates, but you came back with the mother load.
Yes, I wanted ice cream. You know, my doctor had said I could have whatever I wanted during that week,
Nice.
and I wanted ice cream, and I was going to have ice cream.
How was the after party for you?
Um, I did not stay a long time. It was my birthday, and I really wanted to go home, and it was going to be about a 3.5 hour drive. Um, I was not good after the altercation with the one that doesn't like me, Drew. It really upset me. If you get me to cry, ooh, you've done something. And I went in that room and I sat there and I just started packing my stuff. And James came in and Keenan came in, and then Sherry. And I guess it was the pressure of the whole week and then having that. And I felt like Dina was also, going right along with him. Though she wasn't saying anything, she was, right there. And maybe that was just me being sensitive. I was ready to come home. I had dinner. I said goodbye to everybody. I stopped and I told Keenan that I knew he would be on TV one day and I couldn't wait. And I think it'll be on Survivor. Lifelong friends. We will, the people in this, it's every night. I'm like, when do these people work? Because my phone is going off morning, noon, and night. Do you people ever work? And, I got to get up and go to the office every day. But a lot of people ask about it. Newspaper wanted to interview me here, and a couple of Rotary clubs have asked me to come and talk about it because they're just so shocked that I did it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
wait, so if I Google you, can I find the articles?
Yeah, I haven't done the interview yet.
Okay, do the interview so I can Google you and find the articles.
I will. And it just, I think the best part about the whole thing, and we all said this, it was so nice to not have a phone for a week. First few days, every time somebody says something, you're thinking, oh, let me Google it. You don't have a phone. It was so nice to not have that phone to deal with. And I think that the challenges, the going without food, the heat, the whole sleeping outside, it really takes you back to the bare you. And you have a lot of time to reflect and about what's important and what you want to do. And it's really changed some of the things I do. Work is not the end all. And that phone is not something I need with me 24/7. Maybe it's just putting on my skates and going outside and skating for a while. Now, I came home, and on Wednesday after the challenge, I was skating with Mark and fell and fractured 3 ribs. I said, I'll make it through Reelfoot without getting killed. And I come home and fall. But, you look at life a little different. And I've met people that come from different backgrounds that I would have never crossed maybe. And, Lauren, Megan, Angela, Josh, hey, we're all going to get together one day. You're all welcome. And I've told them, hey, I'm 15 minutes from Churchill Downs. If anybody wants to go to the Kentucky Derby, I got the room. So, so hopefully they'll take us up on it one day. But we'll have to see. Maybe you'll see me back at Surviving Reelfoot.
Well, as we close out, I'd love to kind of throw some rapid fire questions at you and just get your first take on things. So, what was easier than expected?
The going without food.
So, what was harder than expected?
Probably the nights, especially when it was so cold. The first night was just so miserable because you could not go to sleep. I was scared to death. I was just waiting for those snakes. And I think it was Wednesday night, Pete came down and put snake repellent around us. And I'm like, oh my God, what have we done?
What was your lowest moment in the game?
That last night. I mean, it was probably my lowest and my highest. Um, Knowing that I was leaving and I
Mhm.
really didn't want to, um, that was probably the lowest point. And I will say the highest point was beating Lauren in that one challenge. I was so proud of myself. It took no skill. It was just me.
But never let her forget it. You beat her.
Oh, I don't. I don't.
What was your favorite challenge then?
Um, Favorite challenge, even though it about did me in, was probably the water slide too. It was fun. I wish we could have redone it. We could have played on it for a while, but
Do you have a favorite moment or something that happened back at the camp?
probably when we would lay there at night and just talk about random things.
Mhm.
Somebody would say, "Hey, Barb, tell us how you're going to sell this place." And at that point, they didn't know I was the PBA. And I would say, "Oh, the lush gardens it comes with, beautiful nature, all the pets you could want, armadillos, snakes, just make cowboy boots. We would just lay there and everybody would just drift off to sleep, or they would talk about their family, their kids, and I think Bash said I had a lot of stories to tell.
Mhm.
If one thing I said sticks with somebody and changes their life for the better, hey, it was worth it.
Who surprised you the most out there?
Hmm. Probably Megan. I knew she was going to be a strong player. She's physically fit. I didn't expect her to be so nice.
Mhm.
She's a complete package.
Who do you wish you had a chance to work with but maybe didn't?
Definitely Keenan.
Mhm.
Keenan. I just love him. I think Keenan has a lot to say, and if you can slow him down enough to say it you'd learn a lot. You know.
Well, let's say you're in 6 months, you're going to play another one of these games.
Mhm.
What would you do differently?
Definitely be more physically fit. Definitely make sure I have enough glucose with me. Um, Probably put myself out there a little more. Yeah, it worked for me to sit back and play a social game,
Mhm.
but that's not going to work every time. Work on a little more strategy. Get in with at least two other people from the get go. And if you do switch tribes, make sure you've still got, two other people that you can go to. I think that's really important. And know a little bit more about Survivor.
When strangers hear that you've gone in the wilderness and played a game like this, like, wait, what is this? What's going on? What is like your one sentence sales pitch for Surviving Reelfoot when you
It'll
describe it to
change your
people?
life. It will change the way you think about
Mhm.
life. It will change what you think that you can do. Everything I thought I couldn't do, guess what? I did it. I didn't go out the first round. I wasn't the last one picked. I won some challenges. I was never the first one out. I made it to the merge and, made it to the final eight. The oldest person out there. I beat 9 other people that some of them were 30 years younger than me. I mean, Josh was 34 years younger than me. A lot of these people were in their 20s and early 30s. Angela was, I believe she was 37.
Mhm.
I was considerably older. So
What is your biggest takeaway from this experience?
I can do more than I thought. And just because I'm 54 now doesn't mean I don't get to do these fun things. Um, and I'm going to keep looking for different adventures, whether it be jumping out of a plane. Sure, I would love for everything to have a $14,000 payout to a charity, but being able to talk about it, you know, that's going to be the big thing.
Because I guess that's my next question. I guess my final question is, what adventure is next? I mean, you've done this. So like, how can you surmount an
Bungee
8-day
jump,
journey into the
yeah.
Tennessee wilderness?
I've bungee jumped, skydived. I've now done Surviving Reelfoot. And had I known it was the longest, hardest one, I may not have started with it. I would love to do the one in Bloomington
Mhm.
that raises money for the homeless.
Mhm.
Who was heading that up?
Is that Can You Survive?
It's Surviving Bloomington.
Okay.
They just did it a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
It's a Friday to Monday, and you get your clues by raising money
Mhm.
beforehand, and all the money goes for homelessness. It was someone that was in.
Yeah.
Is it KC?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think KC, that might be
KC.
the one he runs. There's a couple
Yes.
big charity ones, right? There's
Yes.
Survival Challenge. That's in Illinois.
Yes.
That's a 4.5-day game. There's Can You Survive, which I don't remember
Mhm.
where it is. And those there's a couple other charity games out there. I mean, there is one other one you can apply for.
What?
CBS Survivor. Only 26
Uh,
days now. It's
no, I have to laugh. When I was going through the interview process, they asked me what I was going to do to prepare. And I said, oh, I've got the perfect thing. I'm taking a 1.5 and a 4-year-old on an airplane to Disney World for a week. I said, if I can survive that, I can survive, 8 days in the wilderness.
Well, Barbara, thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time to
you.
run through your game with me. I love speaking for you, and I hope more property valuation assessors will play like Survivor. We need more tax professionals in this community.
Thank you.
For those of you tuning in, thank you so much for listening. This is one of many Surviving Reelfoot interviews. Next up this Wednesday, we'll have the final member of the Unonga Triumvirate with Sharif at 6:30.
And all of my tribe mates, I love you. To my grandkids.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Thank you.